2025 has brought a lot of good and bad things for biking in the greater Seattle area, and it's important to look back at the year. Hi, I'm Bob Seversal. I'm going to highlight what I think are some of the best and worst things for biking here. Let's check them out.
Bad. Diagonal crossings.
Diagonal crossings have been used in recent years to connect bike infrastructure as it crosses from one side of a street to the other.
They've been installed at 9th and John, Pike and Melrose, 5th and King, 6th and Nevada, and more. The problem is that they are confusing for everyone. For example, the worst diagonal crossing in the city is at 9th Avenue and John Street. When there's a lot of traffic, it gets very confusing trying to figure out who is supposed to go next, between drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians, all trying to get through the intersection from different directions.
These designs are a result of the city's approach to building bike infrastructure in segments instead of corridors. We need to do better than this.
Good. Seattle Waterfront Trail.
In 2024, I had it on my bad list, but the completion of the Waterfront Trail in 2025 has been a huge improvement for the Seattle waterfront.
It took 2 years of chaos and convoluted bike detours during construction, but the end result is pretty great, with a dedicated bike facility running along the entirety of the waterfront for the first time in the city's history.
The new trail makes the waterfront easily accessible by bike and truly connected with the rest of the city.
Bad. Communication of project changes.
There were some big lapses in communication around infrastructure projects.
Lake Washington Boulevard had plans for traffic calming suddenly removed. Bike lanes on Union Street were altered to accommodate the potential removal of a bus lane, and changes to a trail project near Terminal 91 were announced through a paid newspaper subscription and not the project page.
It's important for agencies to keep the public up to date on projects, because when designs suddenly change after years of advocacy, trust in those agencies gets eroded.
Good. Urban mountain biking.
It's been a big year for mountain biking in Seattle.
New pump tracks, including an accessible track, were added to the I-5 Colonnade Park. A pilot mountain bike trail in the Cheesty Green space on Beacon Hill opened after 13 years of community advocacy. And when there were plans to demolish the dirt jumps at Woodland Park, the community came together and was able to save them.
While mountain biking is a sport I have only occasionally dabbled in over the years, it's important to recognize that there have been big wins for the mountain biking community here in 2025.
Bad. Lake Washington Boulevard reversal.
Lake Washington Boulevard is on my bad list again, and in 2025 it was particularly bad.
The second phase of traffic calming installations were planned to be installed in summer 2025. After a public meeting in December 2024, city officials were silent on the project until July, when the designs were suddenly changed, removing most of the safety improvements like speed cushions. It was later discovered through reporting by The Urbanist and KUOW that the mayor's office got involved to force the change, and that the mayor's office was biased towards a pro-driver opposition group, meeting with them while denying Safe Streets advocates such a meeting. While a supposed third phase of traffic calming was announced with no details, it's a shame that the mayor's office decided to disrespect and override the city staff who created and supported safer designs.
One of the only good things I can say about this situation is that this contributed to the mayor getting voted out in the November election. Hopefully our new mayor will support a safer park space for everyone.
Good. South Seattle projects.
It's been an incredible year for bike infrastructure in South Seattle.
we saw the completion or near completion of major projects, including the north segment of the Beacon Hill bike route, connection from Georgetown to downtown, Georgetown to South Park connection, and East Marginal Way bike path. These are key to establishing a safe bike network throughout South Seattle.
People in South Seattle have been waiting a long time for infrastructure like this. Let's continue to make it safe for them to bike here.
Bad. Cycling only advocacy.
I think that advocating exclusively for biking has run its course in 2025 and needs to change.
It's easy to fall into the binary cars versus bikes or bikes versus pedestrians discourse.
Thank you.
But those are dead ends, left to online arguments and nothing more. We need more people to prioritize safe streets, and that means designing our streets to work for everyone to be safe and comfortable, whether they drive, bike, walk, roll, or take public transit. Remember, cycling advocates weren't the ones who got those curb cuts we all like to use installed. It was organizing and protests done by disability advocates decades ago.
Cycling advocacy was my stepping stone into safe streets advocacy. Let's all make that step.
Good. Casual group rides.
I feel like 2025 is a year that casual group bike rides really hit their stride since the beginning of the pandemic.
From infrastructure celebrations to scavenger hunts, protest rides to take back the streets from cars, parties on wheels, themed rides around cats, coffee, music, art, history, you name it, there were rides for it. Heck, there was a ride where they tried to cram as many folding bikes as possible into a bike locker.
People want to ride their bikes together and find community while doing so, and the selection pool in Seattle has never been better.
Bad. Driver education around bicycle infrastructure.
There is a growing knowledge gap in drivers when it comes to bicycle infrastructure.
The most obvious issue is drivers idling or parking in bike lanes, but I've personally been asked questions like, are cyclists allowed to ride outside the bike lane? They are. And I've seen drivers get confused at the presence of no turn on red signs and bike signals at intersections. This confusion has led to many dangerous situations and crashes.
I have a lot more to say about this, but I want to issue the following challenge to traffic engineers and planners. Focus on how drivers interact with bicycle infrastructure, especially at intersections, and figure out how to get them to quickly understand what to do and hopefully make safer decisions.
Good. Redmond multimodal connections.
Thanks to multiple new trail connections and the opening of 2 new light rail stations, Redmond has become the premier multimodal hub in the region for cyclists.
Projects like the Redmond Central Connector Phase 3, Mary Moore Gateway Trail, and the extension of the East Lake Sammamish Trail under State Route 520 have had a huge impact on biking connections. It's amazing that you can bike from the 2 line of the light rail in Redmond to Issaquah on a trail, to Bellevue and Seattle on trails, to Bothell and Woodinville and eventually Seattle on trails, and to Kirkland on trails, all without having to ride in car traffic.
This is how you make good bike connections. Way to go, both Redmond and King County. I think there's a lot to celebrate for biking in 2025, and in order to continue that positive momentum, I want to challenge you to do something. Get involved in a local infrastructure project, attend meetings, become an expert, help with outreach, and organize within the community. It doesn't have to be a big project. Even something as small as a new crosswalk or improved wayfinding signage can have a positive impact. In 2026, I want you to help make our world a little safer to travel in. Thank you for joining me in this look back at 2025. If you want to see more of my content, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next year.